A few days before Starrcade 83, Vince McMahon invited NWA World Champion Harley Race to New York for dinner. It didn't take long for McMahon to cut to the chase. He wanted Harley Race to skip Starrcade and bring the NWA belt with him to the WWF. If he did this, Harley would be paid handsomely, with Vince offering him $250,000, an amount close to $750,000 today. I like that. So he offered him $250,000, which is $750,000 in today's money.
Real quick, he called him handsome. They said handsomely, didn't they call him Handsome Harley Race?
At one point, yeah.
Was that a pun?
Race was exhausted by the NWA schedule and was on the brink of losing $500,000 in an investment in Heart of American Wrestling. I don't ask me what that is. I don't know.
I think Batista trained there, if I remember correctly.
I think that was that was Heartland Wrestling Association. That was actually in Cincinnati. Right, yeah. That's what confused me at first too. Heartland Wrestling Association was in Cincinnati, Ohio for a while. This, I think, Heart of American Wrestling, I'm going to say that's the St. Louis territory, maybe, because that's where Harley was from. But anyway, he was also reluctant to put over Ric Flair at the time. Uncle Dave Meltzer has theorized that the plan would have been for Race to lose the belt to the new top star Hulk Hogan in a title unification match with the WWF World's Heavyweight Championship. McMahon that would have been.
I'm just thinking like what that would have done.
Yeah, right. Like that's.
Well, hold on a second.
Mm-hmm.
Hogan's not even champion yet.
Yeah, no, not yet. They're talking about like in the future, building up to it, whatever.
Okay.
But either way, McMahon wanted an immediate answer. Race expressed it through a unique medium, a bathroom mirror. While conversing, according to Race's recommended autobiography, King of the Ring, The Harley Race Story, Race motioned to the mirror before remarking, quote, "I've got to look at that person when I wake up tomorrow," end quote. Vince understood, with Harley implying that he would be ashamed and regretful if he took Vince up on it. Jim Ross later explained, quote, "Harley had given his word on that deal to put over Flair. He'd invested all of these years and miles and hospital stays, stitches, blood, guts, and all that stuff for years in NWA. He wasn't going to do anything to slice it apart," end quote. At an NWA Legends Fan Fest convention held in Charlotte, North Carolina in 2009, Race claimed, quote, "I had too much respect for myself, not only for Rick and the wrestling business, but me personally to pull that," end quote. I could buy that. I mean, that's kind of sleazy. If all that is true, that's a pretty sleazy thing.
He got Flair to come over with his belts in 1991.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying it's true, but I'm just saying there's precedent that it's happened. So there's that.
Yeah. Well, and with Flair, the bad thing about the thing about that one, and I'm not excusing it necessarily, but I kind of am, because Flair had to put up money for like a deposit on the belt, and then when he asked for it back upon being asked to drop it, he was told to go pound salt. So he's like, "Well, I paid for it. F you."
I mean, that's fair.
Yeah.
Possession is 9 tenths of the law.
And he was out of his contract. He had no obligation to the NWA anymore. So this was literally Vince telling Harley, it's like, "Hey, I know you got a contract, obligations, and their belt and everything, but F that. Come over to the..."
Yeah, I know you got all that, but you also have a middle finger.
Yeah, right. And what's funny about all this is years later, supposedly, when the WWF tried to expand west, Harley got pissed, showed up at the show, and supposedly put a gun in Hulk Hogan's gut in the bathroom.
I don't think that's supposedly. I think Hogan said it. Harley Race said it.
Oh, did Harley back it up?
Pat Patterson said it. I think so.
Okay.
I think Pat Patterson also backed it up. So I'm
a fan of Hulk Hogan, but I tend to take his stories with a grain of salt because they kind of grow over time.
No, to be fair, I don't know if he necessarily backed up the gun, but he did back up the confrontation. To be fair,
right? And
so there was a confrontation.
From what I had heard, he gets a gun in his stomach and he's like, "Well, brother, it's not me, it's Vince."
He said that gun didn't work for him and he didn't shoot him.
Yeah, right. I mean, look, that's kind of, that I don't even think that's passing the buck. I mean, what the hell did Hulk Hogan have to do with the booking,
It's just crazy to me, by the way, that's in 2 years or so, Harley Race would be there.
Right.
So clearly the conversation went somewhere, just not right away. Because he's at WrestleMania 3. I don't know exactly when he comes in, but he's at WrestleMania 3.
He fulfilled his obligations with the NWA. He dropped the belt to the new next big thing, whatever. And I mean, not
that's kind of crazy to hear, like thinking like nowadays.
I know, right?
The young buck up and comer, Ric Flair.
Yeah, right. It's kind of nuts, but
oh man, someone's gonna give me crap for saying young buck. It's a saying, people. It was a thing before 2010.
Right. Rick wasn't pulling super kicks and telling people to suck it. So,
ironically, though, he would in 2007.
Well,
on an episode of Raw.
It wasn't on air, but I guarantee he was telling people to suck it. But
yeah, right. We won't get into that. Go watch Dark Side of the Ring. Great show.
Oh, good Lord. Yeah. I wasn't even thinking about that part of it, but yeah.
That is correct.